actually ought not. You understand what I'm saying? And it was Moses. The Egyptians was not that dumb. Doggone Pharaoh was not that dumb to know whether he had a child or not, and somebody go find a damn child outside and bring him back up and he raises him. Come on. This is some fool. You ain't that stupid. You know it ain't your child because the first thing you holler, it ain't mine. Especially you doggone brother, it ain't mine. You see what I'm saying? You think that they ain't no doggone child, so we know that this was the actual ark not now. So we know this is going on now. We talk about this serious. There's a part in this book about ancient Egyptian the Sirius mystery, and also in Osiris Egyptian Resurrection, I think 1 or 2, where they talk about the Pharaoh Pepi completing his incarnations where he did not have to go to any more classrooms, and he became a small star in the Sirius solar system. That particular small star is the same as your soul rising up and completing the classroom time. You go to another classroom after you leave here, and you become a small star. Which you see that Jesus Christ became a small star because the halo around his head is that particular small star that you can do by raising the chakras, the kundalini, and the whole 9 yards and burning up the karma and completing your mission here on earth. I asked where Master Farah Muhammad went. I asked Melchizedek. He said, he's not a small star. Well, I said that would sound crazy, but I understand that Pepi was a small star, which means raising to godhood. Imhotep raised himself to godhood before he left because they started worshiping him as a god because they understood that he raised himself to godhood and didn't have to come back and repeat this over. As well as Ani, which the papyrus of Ani, the book of coming forth by day, is talking about. Raising yourself, which is talking about the transmigration of the transformation of a soul going to higher levels. So, when we talk about Atan being this star, or Allah being this star, or Jehovah being this star, or Yahweh being this star, which is all talking about the star Sirius. The star Sirius is the form of the first man that ever lived. Not Adam, but then again, let's look at Adam. Adam comes from Atum, and Atum is identical to Atan. And the mud fashion of Adam is also called the Kaaba, which is the black god, the Ka and the Ba, which is talking about God, that they make the pilgrimage to Mecca. They call that Allah. So we say the first soul in heaven is called Ansut, which meant that the triple blackness of space, that I got to always say, because the triple blackness of space, which is in the constellation of Draco, which is the great mother, cuts her vagina open, and in the south gate reveals the first star. But as Allah or as God does things, once he does something, he makes it a law. Since you are a physical law, God had to have been you first in the flesh. But since you are the first people on earth, black people, we know that particular God up there is black. Because his reflection comes from the triple blackness of space. Behind him, so in actuality, his mother, her reflection that comes, she said, I'm so super black that I can't see myself, so I have to make a reflection. So the world or so the universe can see me. Her first star, which is Sirius, or Soot, the first of 8 stars, this is number 8, the 8th star. Her first star is a reflection of her. Behind her is the triple blackness of space, just like the melanin in you, the black dot reflects the actual crown chakra. Everybody on that? So the first soul that we know of is that of a black man called Sut, Sutnesi, Atan, Raheru Kahudi, which is her that will come again. He's ever coming, which will touch down also again. So in actuality, that particular star we see up there is a soul, is God, because when we look at things, they said this religion was advanced to the point that when we look at things, we did not separate science from the actual religion or from spirituality. They are one and the same. Science is the explanation of spirituality. So these are some things we wanted to get into also. Now, let's get to serious matters so we can go into this alien agenda. Number one, we are hoping that we're going to deal with some things. We're going to deal with Khalid Muhammad. We're going to deal with Farrakhan. So y'all stick around. Now, I need some time checks. I need some officials here to let me know when it's time for me we can make a little break. You know, so we can get some things.
We got 45 minutes.
We got 45 minutes. So we're going to go for 45 minutes. And y'all let me know when that time is up. And we're going to go for a break. Y'all don't go nowhere because we got some juice. Like I said, you know what I'm saying? If this was Michael Jackson, with a shaved off nose, white skin, y'all will be doggone knocking the door down for him to do an encore. So please stay. You understand what I'm saying? But see, when somebody's saying, no, see, what I'm saying here is, we are at the time that we can physically, spiritually move the beast off the planet. But this is no bullshit. This is real stuff. This is real stuff. We can do this now. But see, the whole key is, you notice all the Afrocentric movement, when you ask them how we getting out of this, they never can tell you nothing. They give you some philosophy. Teach it to your kids. I believe in children of the future. That old bullshit. We talk about the real deal stuff here. So you all got to stay around and look at this stuff now. You can't be leaving now because I'm telling you, this stuff is getting ready to hit. We already know that 1995 is it. We've got this thing now, and we open up the actual vortex on May the 8th, 9th, and 10th. So we got the actual juice, and you got to get some of the juice. Okay, now, let's go into this. Number one, we know that we are hoping that Haiti, either if they call sanctions on Haiti, but we're hoping that they bring the troops up in there. They bring the troops up in there, we can counter that because the Vodun got masters over there, priests already said, and they come, we getting ready to go to war too. But see, the only thing can be the physical war is the spiritual war. Right? And because this particular grace period is over, and we actually got cosmic juice, I'm going to tell you about the scar on my head to let you know that this is cosmic juice. I'll tell you about that in a few minutes. I might tell you about that now. I go on all these tapes and I tell you diet, meditation, and study. So the last 2 weeks I said, I'm chilling, you know. My queen went out of town, and I said, okay, I'm chilling. I ain't going to do no meditation or nothing. I ain't going to clean up the doggone house and shit. I ain't going to take out put the dishes in the sink, you know, just be typical man, you know, just chill. So what happened was I did this ritual, and I pour these libations every morning. So when I did the ritual, when you ask for something, they said, as soon as you ask God for it long enough, it's going to come. So I did the ritual and said, let's get the juice going. So I did the ritual the day that she got on the plane. I did the ritual. Okay, that was about 2.5 weeks ago, because she's coming back Wednesday. And I got to go clean up the house Monday. Get the funk out, you know. But see, so I did the ritual. So the juice started coming. I went to Jackson, I went to Chattanooga last Sunday, and I was doing it in the juice store. I said, oh, I feel the juice coming on, because it came on like that before. And the current hit, and I said, okay, I got the juice now. I said, I got the juice, it's on. But the last time it hit, I was meditating. So what happened was I was taking the juice and I was putting it throughout my body. Now this is something you can do for the simple fact this current is here now. So all you got to do is start meditating, and you can get your cells regenerated and all of that. So I was meditating, but this time I wasn't meditating. I took all this colon cleansing, got cleaned all out, so got the vessel cleaned all out and stuff, but I wasn't meditating. So what had happened was the juice came, and I meditated one Wednesday night for about 15 minutes, and then just enough to open it up, open up the channels. But I wasn't meditating, and this energy came in, and when it came in, it didn't come throughout my whole body, so it came around my head, and all this energy just started coming in, and all I know is it started raining that night. It started raining and thundering, and that energy was real powerful, and the energy lifted me off the bed, threw me into a stereo. I got a stereo player right beside the bed. You know, all black people, they ain't got nothing in the house. They got a TV and they got some music, radio or something playing. So I had a CD player, and it threw me into the CD player and bust my head open. But then again, I didn't know it because I went back to sleep, because I just woke up with a pillow full of blood. And then when I was talking to the spiritual sister, I said, well, what happened? She said, she started channeling, she said, and the channel came through, and they said, your own power threw you off the bed. Said, we threw you off the bed to bust your head open, because you supposed to have been meditating and taking this energy, taking it throughout your body. So since the energy piled up and it wasn't situated throughout your body and balanced, it was too much and it threw you off the bed. I said, well, man, I felt it and bust my head open. So I said, now this is a physical manifestation of the power that is on the planet now. So now we got the juice. You don't have to do nothing. Now, number one, like I said before, I know a lot of you in here are saying, I'm learning this stuff, but the first thing you say is, well, my family ain't gonna get with it. I know that's everybody thinking that. I want to teach my family, but I go home and they tell you I'm a crazy nigga in the room. I know that this is a deep concern with you. The reason why it is not happening that way is because your family, you're supposed to let the dead lie with the dead.
That's right.
Because you exist, you are a representative of your family that is dead. And if you got more people in your house that's down, then cool. But each person, you are a representative, and you are having the divine sacrifice for your other brothers and sisters while they're out here shaking their booties and walking around with bull cans in the whole 9 yards. But you people right now, because you got up on a Sunday and came to something consciousness, I'm telling you that the actual extraterrestrial confederation is not in the sky. You looking at them. So therefore, you are the representative for your family while they are ignorant. So now, don't, and the first thing you do when we learn a little bit of knowledge, we go try to run back and tell them and get beat up. Because number one, it's not for them. There's going to be a physical manifestation that the masses going to bear witness to in a couple of months. But once they bear witness to this in a couple of months, you will be there to say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. This is this is that. They're going to come running to you. But now is not the time to be called crazy about running to them. They're going to come running to you because remember, the masses never got nothing. You understand what I'm saying? That's why all the doggone black conscious people from the 1960s and the revolutionary is running around this motherfucker crazy now. And don't know what the hell happened. Excuse me for all that, whatever. We talking to family now. Whatever. I don't care no more. The reason why they doing that is for one reason. They thought they could get the masses of the people. The masses of the people are spiritually dead. They're called a popular culture. They go by what smells good, what tastes good, what looks good, what sounds good, and what feels good. And that's all they're going to go by. So therefore, the masses of people never got nothing. It's always the small nucleus. You know the 85% deaf, dumb, and blind, the 5% are the righteous, and the 10% running it. Well, see, the actual Illuminati or the actual New World Order, Tavistock, or whatever you want to call them, they got that from us. They looked into the mystery system of Africa and Kemet, which is one and the same, and they said, hey, the priests ran the society. So it was a small nucleus. That's why John and Clark told you, when you go to Africa, you kill off 12 or 16 African kings, you never get to the real man, them decoy kings. So they running that on us. It's a pyramid shape. You got all the peons on the bottom, and when you get to the top, that's where you get to the real deal people in there. That's the smaller it gets. So therefore, this particular nucleus, the way you do things is you don't try to go out and liberate the masses. The masses is a popular culture that goes by a current. That goes by what is in fashion. So therefore, what you do is you take the nucleus and make the nucleus strong. The quality, not the quantity. And once the radius of the nucleus gets strong, it will radiate, the light will permeate, and therefore the masses will see the light. But you don't try to go out and take the light, you wear yourself thin. You understand? So this whole thing about he got the masses of our people, that's bullshit, and the white man is feeding that system. Check into that. Now, we want the thing to go down with Haiti. We know that they're going to impose sanctions. Now I heard they're getting ready to go into Haiti. Well, the voter priest already said they're going to Haiti. We got them. Okay? We got them. Therefore, since there's no such thing as time or geography and dimensions, all we got to do is tap into what we got to tap in at this time, and we can take the beast off the planet, because the spirit's going to be there. Now, I'll tell you what you got to do. It's simple. I told you on the radio, if anybody heard the radio show. But we got to start doing this from this day on. We get ready to take the beast off the planet. You all trust me on this one. Why? Because I'm not a nigga up here asking you to give me no money as far as follow me nowhere, follow me to no promised land. I'm not telling you what. I'm not telling you to go to no economic plan. I'm not telling you that I'm the Holy Messiah and you not. We all the doggone Holy Messiahs. That's what the rising of the Christ means. It means one who exalts himself to a level of spirituality and an entire race of people based on the esoteric doctrine. And that entire race of people are you, because you were Christ before you fell into this. Check? So, once this thing hits, and we're going to start doing some things, the Godhead is getting together in Atlanta today. We're getting ready to start doing some things tonight and Monday. Tomorrow morning, we're going to do some things. Number one, well, I'll get into that in a few minutes. But anyway, hold on to that. We'll get into the solutions at the end. But remember, when Haiti hits, that is a dimension of spiritual ass whipping, because the white man is going on physical. But you don't fight a devil by becoming the beast and going on the physical level. He's the master of that. You automatically win. Elijah Muhammad said that'll be like taking candy from a baby if you stand up against a white man. Like I said before, I was in a march in 1977. I thought we was doing something. I was in high school. I thought we was doing something. And the Undertaker took me down into the police department in Mullins, South Carolina, population 7,000. And when I went down into the basement of the police department, they got about 25 police. I went in the basement, and they had enough weapons in there to wipe out all of Atlanta. So now you can imagine what Atlanta has. They got enough weapons. If they got population 7,000, Mullins, South Carolina, in the middle of nowhere, they can wipe out all Atlanta. What you think Atlanta got? They got enough to can wipe out Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. And New York got enough to wipe out the whole half. So when you going up there with your little pistols, and you done messed around and messed up and done traded in half of them to Toys R Us anyway. So therefore, they done got you on that. That's the reason why they did that. And we're going to show you some other things, too, that came off the spiritual realm. The whole gang warfare and the drive-by shooting was started by the government. We're going to get into that now. We're going to get into that, too. So now you coming up with this, you can't win no war like that. He's the master of that game. You don't fight him with that. You above that. So Martin Luther King had it right, but he didn't understand. It didn't mean love your neighbor. It means get on a high spiritual manifestation. So when Jesse Jackson told me we must take the moral high ground, that's the mundane level. This is moral teaching. That don't have nothing to do with nothing. That was for savage people to learn moral teachings. You know right from wrong by 12. And most black people being spiritual, you know right from wrong. You understand? You're born with that. That's your nature, is to be righteous. Because why? Because you're the only people who live with the slave master this much and never rose up against him. That shows humanity within itself. You understand what I'm saying? You tried to this day, you still begging the doggone compromise with him. But right now, it ain't about compromising with him. It's about getting him off the planet. And we are at the hour to do this. So now, what we want to do is, once this thing hit in Haiti, we're going to be ready for it because you're going to start doing some things. And if you do this, hopefully, if you do this up till the 19th, we want you to do this from now on. Don't skip a day. White man tell you to be on the job, you be on the job, and if you late, you'll call in. Don't try to skip a day, and if you skip that morning, you try to get it by that night. It's real simple what we're going to do. Now, let's go on to some other things. Number one, the Afrocentric community totally rule out Atlantis and Lemuria or Alchemoria. Why? Because they are interested in proving to white people that the pharaohs are black, and they're not interested in covering the real truth. They already got a tribe in Africa, or a nation in Africa that already can trace their history all the way back to Lemuria. And we talking about a couple of 100,000 years, maybe over 1 million years. Now, Elijah Muhammad said that the creation of the mutant, he said, when I talk about the creation of the white man, I'm talking about the creation of the white man in this 26,000 year history. There's another 26,000 year cycle before that. He said, but the gods can go back to, he said our accurate number is what, 66 trillion years? He said that because we have no birth record. They can't trace it. And we got some other evidence to know that we were civilized millions of years ago. So now he said, but when I talk about the creation of the mutant 6,000 years ago, and that in reference to the Bible, I'm talking about the white man that's on the scene today. He said that there's been other 26,000 years periods, and we know that Atlantis fell. Every time we fell, we created a mutant to take us down to the lowest point before we fell, and rose back up again. But what had happened was that there was a creation of the mutant that is documented also in the book, A.E. Powell's book. They got the book, The Astro Body. One of the must-read books to try to find out more of the astral realms. They talk about the human artificials and the whole 9 yards. And they talk about the creation of the mutant by the black magicians of Atlantis. That creation of that particular mutant by the black magicians of Atlantis that they talk about was in Atlantis where this white man was on the scene before. And now I come to find out there's new evidence. I said, well, why would this Awas fellow, this black god, why would this Awas fellow come to Aleister Crowley? Why didn't he come to black people? Well, number one, we know that black people was dumb in 1904. A few of us. He could have came to some of them, but you wouldn't believe nothing that the black man said. Elijah Muhammad wrote the message to the black man, and you still don't believe it. You see what I'm saying? So now, he came number one for simple this fact. I just asked a few questions, and they gave me some more. The higher realm said that Aleister Crowley was one of the original priests in Atlantis that created the mutant. He was a black man in Atlantis. And he was one of the original priests that created the mutant. And as a result, he came karmically tied to cleaning up the mess that he had his hand in on. Now, I'm going to get this book to show you this picture. This book of this particular priest in this stela is called, this is a black priest. If you look at him, his name is Akhenaten. He was a priest, I think, in the 26th dynasty or one of those dynasties. And and this is his stela. Once Aleister Crowley was a 19th century and early 20th century magician, once he got into his particular his mystic and his magician, he went and magic in England, he went over to Europe and he came up on this stela or this particular slate, and this particular person was actually him in another time. But then at this time he had become a white boy because he became his own creation. Now, remember, 20% of white people are not white. They are black. They just have white skin. Some of them have blue eyes, but they have the melanin. You understand? 20% of them do have pineal glands that secrete melanin, but this particular is not only, it didn't come as far as the outside, so we got different mutations, but not a total mutant. So now he became his own creation, and this is why when he came back to Kemet in 1904, Awas gave him the Book of Law. Yeah. Gave him this Book of Law, which is a threefold book of melanin and the breakdown of God, which they got some here for 6 bones. The Book of Law, which they have some more, which is a threefold book of the Book of Law. The 3rd chapter is talking about the breakdown of the first 2 chapters is the breakdown of the autonomy of the black man and woman. The 3rd chapter is talking about a Christ figure raising up again, which is Heru is supposed to raise up in this particular cycle. Mainly this on the planet now. But this is particular book, he gave him this book because he karmically had to redo what he did. This is why the Moors and the Egyptians inducted white people both in the mystery system in Kemet and also went up into Moor to try to give this particular mutant alchemy, to try to give him this particular melanin and create a soul for him, because the melanin is the dark night of the soul. Who does not have the seal? They say in the book of Revelation, they say what? The Solomon seal, except anybody with the seal. If you don't have the seal, you don't have a soul. This is how they can tell whether you are soulless or not. But one drop of black blood, I don't care if you white, bright, and damn near white, you got the actual soul. So this is what he had to do, and this is why they had to induct people into the actual mystery system, to actually redo that right, because we put him on the planet. Now this is information that is by the thousands on this white man being created. Plus we got the archaeological documents in the Temple of Seti I, which I have shown several times. Now, one reason why the Afrocentric community just went dead recently, after they learned the history, they couldn't tell you no more, and the shit just blew up. You understand what I'm saying? After a while, Dr. Ben started sounding redundant. John Henry Clark started sounding redundant, because now remember now, those are our brothers and sisters. They did their job. It was for the next crew to take it on to another level. So now they did their job, so don't look for them to do nothing. Y'all can come on around. Y'all can come on around. Tell them to do nothing. Don't look for them to do anything, because they did that. The first thing was man know thyself. You know your history. But like I said before, if you want in Kemet, it says man know thyself, and you already know your history because you live it. You wasn't hit in the head. What does man know thyself mean? Man know that ye are gods. So his first thing is to know the history, then to know the mystery. This is why you got scholars like me, Reverend Valentine, Deborah Blair, Brother Dawood, and a couple of other people started coming on now and started talking about the actual mystery, and now it sounds all crazy, because remember, truth is stranger than fiction. Now, one of the keys to this whole thing is the Afrocentric community went dead. It almost sounds redundant and almost sounds like intellectual liberation masturbation after a while. I remember I went home, like I said, in 82, my mama said, you've been coming on with this stuff for about 5 years now, and we still ain't free. She said, we still ain't free. She said, I know we was the original people. She said, I knew that when I was a little girl. She said, because you know that system came about 20 years before that. And 20 years before that, it always occurred. But the problem, the reason why it occurred is because we never took it to the other level. Now, the Afrocentric community wants you to return to Africa or wants you to return back to Egypt. But what they didn't realize is this. to return back to Africa and to return back to the state that you was in Egypt, that was a fallen state. When you first got on the planet, Manetho said that you was 10,000 years of dynastic and pre-dynastic history. They said, who used to rule before then? He said the gods used to rule. And then after the God's chakra center shut down because you got trapped into this third dimension and got separated from the actual other people in Atlantis, the gods, then you had to go into the mystery system and build a mystery system to bring yourself back up to godhood. But that's a fallen state. Even though we do know the fallen state is greater than the state that we're in now. And the white man has never been able to, no other race has never been able to match what we did in our fall. But unfortunate with John Henry Clark and the rest of them, they give you history during the fall. They say, oh, we know of Atlantis, but we don't have enough stuff on it. No, you don't have enough white man scholarship on it, but if you study the occult, you have all you want. So since we didn't do it, white people started claiming it. Get the Secret Doctrines book. Get the esoteric, what's the name of that book? The Esoteric Traditions and the Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky. Get those books. Get these other books of the occult. The Isis Unveiled, when they talk about Atlantis and Lemuria. The occult, you say, oh, that's some spooky stuff. The occult means that which is hidden. Or the esoteric. So you studied the exoteric history, and they only took you back to that. Why? Because they were victims of white man scholarship based on, most of those were people in the school system. And they didn't want to be ridiculed by being this spooky way out person by talking about Atlantis and Lemuria and all this particular stuff and spaceships and all this, for the simple fact they had a code that they had to go by. Because remember, Dawood say, even though that's Afrocentric, most of that is Eurocentric. You going by the rules of what the white man telling you, you should dictate history. Even though they did a great job knowing that based on archaeology that we're the original people on Earth, but we got millions of years. That's why you know how in the devil we got one man that's a doggone humped over man, but we got Lucy, Homo sapiens sapien, that's a couple of million years old. It don't coincide with another person. Right there you got two people on the earth plane. That's one is an animal man and one is God, the actual people. So what had happened was is we tried to go back to Kemet. It's not going to happen for the simple doggone fact that we didn't fall from Kemet. We fell from godhood into Kemet, and then we fell to what we are now dead. So now if the earth has a birthday and goes back to its original form, that means that you got to go back to the original gods, not Kemet. The white man has tried to match most of our civilizations and stuff, and even he's matched it. He's done a bad job of doing it by killing and all this stuff, but he got all the stuff we got. But what I'm trying to say is even all this technology that we marveling over there, Kemet, the reason why we didn't have a telephone, because you could close your eyes, or you could phone home to anybody you want to phone home to. You didn't need a doggone thing. You see what I'm saying? You didn't need no telephone. You want to call somebody, you just call them. You see what I'm saying? You just call them. And you talk like that. That's why you see on the walls, you don't never see none of them with their mouth open on none of them Egyptian pictures. None of them. Try looking in them. You never see them going, never. You never see any of them with their mouth open. That's because it was a telepathic society, telepathic society. You see what I'm saying? They did everything by mind. Everything. So therefore, you didn't need no doggone spaceship like the man got some tin and all this stuff. You just went to different planets. And the spaceships you see out there are not of some physical structure. They're spiritual chakras of the body. You can become a spaceship. You see what I'm saying? This is how the kind of science we're dealing with here. Anything you think of in your mind, you can do. And this is the science of the gods. So now what we're trying to get, now it makes sense. Why out of all this time we've been here, none of the economic stuff worked for us. None of all the social stuff that all these other races got worked for us. Seemed like nothing worked for us. Even the homosexual took our civil rights movement and made a bigger movement and made more advances for himself than we did. See what I'm saying? Tip O'Neill, when Tip O'Neill was retiring, they said, well, what you can say about something you can forecast in your whole time or when you was in office? He said, when I was the Speaker of the House, he said, I saw one thing that didn't manifest. He said, I saw the black people who made all the doggone rights in the 60s law. He said, I see every other race raise up on them, including the homosexuals, got more power than black people. Maybe, because we know we always holler about we don't do this, we don't run business, we don't do this right, we don't do this. It's not made for you to do that. Why? Because you you have outgrown that plane. You did that 3,000 years ago. What is meant for you is to become God and God only. Think about it. What is meant to you is to become God and God only. So therefore, nothing else is going to work for you. This is why no economical system or anything you try to do is going to work for you, including going up in some church and listen to a man holler at you for 20 minutes. We're going to get into that today, too. We're going to touch that today, too. Now, I want to go into some things, because we know now that they said that the face on Mars, you got a face on Mars, which is the Sphinx on Mars, and you got a Sphinx here.